Hello, this is Green Seas, the podcast from TradeWinds. My name is Craig Eason. I'm TradeWinds technology editor. Now, last week I was in China for the naming ceremony of what is now, albeit briefly, the largest car carrier on the high seas. Hoegh Aurora has a capacity of 9,100 CEUs and is also LNG fuelled. But the intention by Hoegh Autoliners, which ordered this vessel at China Merchants Heavy Industries Yard in Jiangsu Province, is not that it'll remain LNG fuelled. As you'll have noticed on TradeWinds over the last few years, Hoegh intends that the Hoegh Aurora and the other 12 new buildings by the yard will eventually become ammonia fuelled. It plans to have the first 8 with LNG and then to convert them when the engine and the fuel are available, and then to have the final 4 to actually leave the shipyard with the ability to run on ammonia. Now that's a bold call and one that not many ship owners feel they can make. It's also a call that Hoegh Autoliners made when the markets were not what they are today. In fact, the company was in deep debt and had to find ways to raise the cash to make what has become the largest order in its history. So while I was enjoying the tour of the vessel following a very hot naming ceremony on the quayside, I had a chance to corner Hoegh Autoliners Chief Operating Officer Sebjorn Dahl to talk about that decision to be different back in 2020 or 2021, and then how the crew, who were already on the vessel, were ready to sail around to Europe on a single tank containing 3,400 cubic metres of liquid natural gas. Enjoy.
This week's episode is brought to you with the support of Bureau Veritas.
At Bureau Veritas, each and every one of us is by your side to help you navigate your decarbonisation journey and shape a better maritime world.
My name is Sebjorn Dahl. I'm COO in Hoegh Autoliners. I've been there for 32 years. Started after the Navy, so I'm a captain myself. And I've been working with ship management part in different roles, but mainly the running of the vessel, the operational of the vessel, my whole entire career. In 2020, everything was a little bit sad. Still in Corona, no profit. The commercial market was down, basically. We had even vessels in layup. Then I spent some time to walk around and ask myself, what can we do? We are not the biggest. We are among the biggest. We are the fifth biggest PCTC operator in the world. So to become the biggest, that was a long shot, and especially bearing in mind that we were lack of money. So what I suggested after thinking a little bit, that maybe we should try to be a first mover, do something smart on the technical side. And it was a kind of smelling that something has to happen with the maritime industry and the pollution thing. And we were not running on heavy fuel oil anymore, we were running on low sulfur, but that is not good enough going forward. So then I suggested that maybe we should kick off a project designing the smartest PCTC the world has ever seen. And then he asked me, what have you had for breakfast? Talking about new building now. I've been thinking a lot of this, and I think that the timing might be perfect. It sounds strange to talk about new building now when we are struggling with debts and paying back our debt to banks, etc., etc. And then Andreas asked me, how much does it cost? And I said, to kick off a design doesn't cost that much. It's then we are talking about relatively small money. And I said, okay. And so we did. We kicked off the first design. And that was ready 1st of April 2021. And during that time, it was an improvement in the commercial market, so we started to earn money as well. And we launched the idea of the largest and the greenest PCTC ever built. And the market reacted quite positively on that. But we need the money. So we did an IPO in the end of 2021, and we spent that money on the first contract for 4 vessels. A little bit later, we extended it to another 4, shortly after, actually. And the year after, we took another 4. So and that's 12 altogether. And then the idea was that the engine for ammonia is not yet ready. So we need to build a vessel which can be converted into ammonia when that time comes. So we have built in everything we can build in, and we have paid for as much as we can pay for to make it ammonia ready. So it's relatively easy to convert this vessel to run on ammonia. We don't have to change tanks. It's just some kind of modification on the engine, the top injectors. There are some safety features and some of the piping. So to modify the first 8 from LNG to ammonia, that will be relatively easy. And the 4 last vessels, our intention is then to build ammonia from the day one, from delivery.
Just talk about the IPO a little bit here, because, and the decisions that you went through, because in a sort of microcosm, the decision making and the financing that you had to go through is what the whole industry is having to go through, in terms of making up some sort of mind about what fuels to opt for when it comes to the future fleet. And there's a large order book going in now. But a lot of the order books are not, I would say, ammonia or methanol ready. They are a large, the bulkers, the tankers, they tend to be LNG with some optionality occasionally. But there doesn't seem to be this whole-scale sort of acceptance of ammonia or methanol at the moment. There seems to be still a lot of people sitting on the fence here. So I'm just curious how and why Hoegh, then, you particularly, decided we're actually going to start doing this. We're not going to sit on the fence as much as all the other ship owners. We're going to actually make a bit of a difference here. So I'm just curious. I'm curious about that. I'm also curious about that when you went to the banks to look for to get the debt, and when you went then to the markets to do the IPO, whether that decision-making that you'd already done played a strong factor in that financial equation.
Yeah, I think when we talked with the financial institutions and we presented our idea, they had a kind of trust in us, and they liked the idea, and we have already shown that we were able to do what we promised to do. So we had already done a couple of turnarounds with the organization, so we delivered quite good on that, and I think we had trust in as the starting point. And we were very frank. We said that we might fall, but if we don't try, we will not succeed. But we can promise we will try, and we will do that together with the best players in the industry. And if we do not succeed, then at least nobody can say that we have tried. But we believe that we will succeed. So, and this was not a kind of one shot. It was a series of meetings and updates. It was a development. And what surprised us was that when we were talking about ammonia, we think ammonia might be the solution, because then it will be green, 100% zero emission. If you do LNG, great green impact, but not the end of the game. The same with methanol. It will be a transfer fuel in a way. And then when the other option is nuke, that is something for not for us, and probably not our grandchildren either. So we ended up with ammonia, and then we talked with the supplier of engine and fuel gas system, and in particular MAN, and they said that it might be, and it will be testing, and we made the timeline together with them, and we were kind of pushing. We are super keen. And they also realized that we have to do this, and they started to develop the ammonia engine. So what has surprised me the most since we kicked it off in 2020 is the speed. Everything has gone much faster. We believe that, okay, maybe LNG as a transfer fuel for 10 to 15 years. We should be able to convert the vessel after 10 to 15 years to ammonia. But now we will have 4 ammonia vessels on water in 2027. So everything goes much, much faster. And I think that is not only we that see that, the banks also see that. So they grabbed, this was something new, refreshing, but you're 100% correct. There are a lot of people still sitting on the fence. They are waiting, not taking the bold step forward. But Hoegh, they have a tradition to take risk on the technology and on new ways of doing things, actually. And in the almost 100 years of history in Hoegh, we have quite a few examples of similar steps forward. Okay. Not always great success, but if you don't try, you will never win.
Just finally, just a thought about the fuels and the crew.
Yeah.
I understand that the crew, to get used to LNG, they've been with Hoegh LNG, just to get some understanding of the way that the cargo for LNG with them would be used as a fuel here on the Hoegh Autoliner vessels. But how are you going to do something similar with ammonia when you start bringing in ammonia? Because they're going to also need ammonia training.
Yeah, that's correct. We have carefully selected crew from our existing pool of PCTC seafarers, but they do not have gas certificate. So we have done training for them, familiarization, a lot of theory, training courses ashore for the whole crew. But for the officers, all officers, they need 1 month practice on board. And then we have the daughter company, Hoegh LNG, where they have been on board the Hoegh LNG vessels. So an extremely big thank to Hoegh LNG. It would be difficult for us to educate our seafarers, our officers, to be capable to run this vessel without Hoegh LNG. When it comes to ammonia, we have hooked up with Yara. They have 100 years. They have 100 years of experience, history in Yara in ammonia production, and ammonia is toxic. So that is something we take extremely seriously, and we will again recruit from LNG crew and officers for the ammonia vessels, and we will do basically the same. But there are no particular certification needed for ammonia. It's a gas, so when you have the gas certificate, it's okay. But of course, we will hook up with the experts and train them well, and we will use shackles and belts when it comes to safety devices. So if it's required with 1 sniffer and 2 safety belts, we will buy the double to be sure. And most probably do something with the crew also, ammonia safety officer. We are discussing that in order to implement so much safety that we all feel safe. So we will never compromise on the crew safety, never.
Well, that was Sebjorn Dahl, COO at Hoegh Autoliners, talking to me in the crew mess of Hoegh Autoliners Hoegh Aurora, its first 9,100 CEU delivery from China Merchants Heavy Industries shipyard in Jiangsu province in China. Well, that's nearly it for this week. Green Seas will be back in a week with more sustainability insights from TradeWinds. And just a point, if you're going to be in Germany, in Hamburg for SMM on September the 3rd, try and find me. I'll be at our TradeWinds Shipowners Forum. That's September the 3rd in Hamburg for SMM. And before I go, a quick reminder about Wavelength, the other editorially driven news podcast from TradeWinds, which comes out every Friday. You can find that and Green Seas on most podcast platforms. Until the next time, my name's Craig Eason. Goodbye.